So we always want to start with a thought from one of our faith leaders, and we are privileged to have Chaplain Sharon here with us as a faith leader. And so maybe if you can just give us some words of encouragement for this work that we're doing, Chaplain, that would be a total blessing for us.
You know, it's a blessing for me to meet you women who are out on the front lines. As you can tell, I'm kind of old, so I'm in the background more or less. I am a chaplain at Palomar Hospital, and I happen to know that we have in North County where connected to the police department where abuse victims go through and run through our hospital. It has been on my heart for ages as a mom, as a grandma, as a children's pastor for 35 years. Children are a blessing from the Lord. They are a gift that we abuse, sad to say. But you ladies and your organizations and whoever, gentlemen too, I'm sure, you make a difference. What you do counts. And what I ask is that God would refresh you, that he would strengthen you, that he would bless you, and that he would encourage you not to grow weary in your well-doing, because what you're doing is not only for those children, but it's an area that God has placed you in to make a difference in his kingdom. So bless you all and keep up the good work in the name of Jesus.
That was sweet.
Wonderful.
We need the encouragement. We encourage each other, but it's really good when someone who's looking in. And I thank you so much for reaching out to me and being faithful and then blessing me and praying over me. That you don't know what that did to my heart. So I wanted to start by talking about what's happening recently. And I know, Claudia, you probably know statistics as well. But right now, as an advocate, a domestic violence advocate in my office, a public office, I'm averaging now 2 to 3 calls per week right now. And it used to be maybe 1 call a week and maybe every other week. But it seems like the temperature for this particular awful activity is growing during the pandemic. And I think with poverty, people who live in poverty, and even wealthy people still, I had a gentleman who was very privileged, born into privilege, and built very successful business, but in denial about when he caught a court case about domestic abuse. And he stayed in denial. And it's because his mindset. But one of the things that as I pondered just this week, and I get calls throughout the week from the community as well. My hairdresser was talking to a lady on Tuesday, or maybe doing her hair, and she called me and she said, Karen, I got someone who needs help. She needs to move. And I said, give her my number. Go ahead and give her my number. And so the lady called me yesterday afternoon, and I spoke with her, and he pulled a gun on her, and she isn't safe in her home anymore. And she moved here here's the funny part, not funny, but interesting. She moved here from Arizona to get away from him, but then he ended up back here as well. And so I listened to her story, very traumatic, very traumatized, and I need to help her find another house. She has Section 8, so I'm going to help her find somewhere to move to so he doesn't know where she is. He's on house arrest right now, but not in her home. But it's been going on for years. And so as I was thinking about, after talking to her, because it really hit my heart, that, and I don't want to start our day on a dark side, but that there is darkness in the earth, and we get to shine the light.
Yes.
We are the light that we can shine in those dark places. And church, because we're not talking about it in church, so it's invisible in the pulpits across San Diego County. It's a lot of preachers and teachers and deacons they know about it, but they don't kind of know what to do, or they try to squash it or limit the conversations. And And so that's our whole purpose, is to help equip faith leaders. Let's talk about this. And so here's the table we're creating. And I envision that soon this table will have 100 of those faith leaders here at the table with us. And so I'm going to keep plowing this ground. I'm going to keep sharing the light every chance I get. I want to offer, I thought Pastor Rico would be here. He did accept it. And but something may have come up for him. He's a youth pastor, and I really wanted to strengthen him because there in his church, it's not being talked about, and he's dealing with those teenagers on a weekly basis and sometimes midweek and Sundays. And he really wants to be able to equip them and to talk about teen dating violence and stuff like that. So I'm really going to connect him to the teen dating violence subcommittee so that they can strengthen him and maybe do some presentations, coach him, include him in with the work that they're doing, because we want to, that's our goal, is to strengthen the faith leaders and to get them to a place where it's okay to talk about this. It's okay to refer that person over to another service, another church that may have a vibrant counseling service that when small churches may not. So those are my words for today. And we are gonna, I just wish there were more here. And so the recording we could potentially share with others in the future, like Pastor Rico for one. I know he was planning to be here, but he works just like most of us do. And so I thank you ladies for being you're like pillars around this work. You're the strong pillars that create like a fence of protection. And today we want to talk about children and how the effect it has on children. And if my voice is cracking a little bit, it's because my heart is very tender to this work. And yeah, and I just love working for him and doing what, if we can impact our generation while we have the strength and the ability, then we've done our work. And he will one day say, well done, my good and faithful servant, to each of us.
And thank you, Karen, for convening us. Yes, maybe we don't have the numbers, but we will. But again, it's the strength. Every woman on here is just such a strong, admirable, amazing, beautiful woman who's doing God's work. And we just have to keep plowing, just keep going. I think that we have a lot of reach. And Chaplain Sharon, I know we don't know each other very well. So I'm Claudia Grasso, and I am the president of the San Diego Domestic Violence Council. I am also a prosecutor with the DA's office by trade. I prosecuted for about 16, 17 years cases of domestic violence, child abuse, elder abuse, internet crimes against children. And so this has been my passion. So by work of God, I think working through our wonderful elected DA, Summer Steffen, she in January tasked me to become the executive director of One Safe Place, which is our new family justice center in San Marcos. Unfortunately, we had another delay, so now we're not opening until mid-June, which is a little bit, but again, it's just, we're going to keep plowing along. So we think that mid-June will be when we will open, and One Safe Place will truly be that. Will be in Palomar Hospital is one of our big partners at One Safe Place. They are relocating all of their child advocacy center to our place. Forensic interviews will be conducted at One Safe Place, and so we are so fortunate. But it's just, again, bringing together everyone that just really is passionate about this cause together under one roof to help those of trauma. And we are going to go beyond what the normal, if you will, or the typical family justice center who typically addresses victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, because we are also going to focus on children and elders. And so as well. And so again, anybody who has suffered trauma, please come through our doors. We will help you and your family. And so I am so pleased that we are now at 58 partners that have signed an MOU to join us. And that's the signed ones. We have about 5 or so that have verbally committed that we're waiting for the signature. And we're talking about the big heavy hitters to the the smaller. I mean, we're one of the verbal commits is 211, who's huge. They're our latest one. And again, it's intuitively would think about that are coming with us, but there are also those that I think just enhance that I would not have thought of before this journey. And now they're partners with us. For example, the San Marcos Library, we just signed an MOU. They're going to come do a literacy piece in there. Palomar, we're talking to Palomar College right now about ESL classes for our victims who need that, English proficiency. We signed an MOU with the Mexican consulate, who once a month is going to come to the center and help our Mexican national community with their passports and any needs that they have. Again, Meals on Wheels, they're going to be co-located to help us, hand food out. And I mean, so it's just, again, it's not just the acute services, but we want people to thrive, the job readiness, the resume building, all those partners are going to be in there, the legal, elder care, human trafficking, Free to Thrive. So we are just so excited for this. We have in One Safe Place a non-denominational faith room with Dr. Waffle. Her name is escaping, her first name is escaping me right now. She's going to be in there as kind of our spiritual leader, but it's non-denominational. So we invite everyone to come in, for everyone who chooses God or whoever they believe in as part of their healing journey. And so I envision our meetings maybe taking place there, once we open. I would love that. And hopefully we can start pulling from our congregations in North County to come and join us as well. So throw that out there. Thank you for the work. And please, you can count on me when you need me. I'm working from home until we open the center in mid-June. I have 1,000,001 meetings, obviously, with partners and whatnot, getting this ready, because truly it's like starting a business, which I don't know anything about, but I'm learning as I go. Did you have a question?
I would like to know does the Family Justice Center in downtown have a faith room as well?
You know what? I don't. And just to kind of give you a history. So the Family Justice Center downtown is run by the city attorney's office. And they were the very first one in the entire world that opened 20 years ago. And they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary. And so we have an MOU signed with them as our sister center. And the reason we started, we are opening, the DA's office is opening one, is because our victims in North were just not going downtown. When we would tell them, oh, there's a great center, they can offer services, and they would say, great, where is it? It's a downtown, and they reacted as if we said, go to next, another state or another country. They said, we can't go there, and they're just, we're not accessing. And so they rebranded, and they're called Your Safe Place. And we are One Safe Place. So I know that's going to cause a little bit of confusion, but we are working together. As far as whether they have a faith room, I don't think so. I'm not sure. I mean, I can check with Diane Doherty, but I don't think they do. And at one point, I'm happy at our next meeting or so to show you a little, I know some of you have seen a video just of what it's going to look like and what we are going to have in there. So definitely we can do that, at some point. But but very proud. I wanted to let you know that we do have this non-denominational faith room where I envision us using.
That's good.
That's beautiful. I'd like to see that video too, Claudia, if you could if you can just direct me to where it is, or maybe email me the link to the video.
I can share it. Yeah, I mean, this is as part of our presentations, and I have a presentation on One Safe Place. So, you know, I know that we have, I mean, the presentation will take, you know, maybe, 10 minutes. So at one of our meetings, just let me know, and I'm happy to share it with our group. So, you know, just to learn a little bit about the center and see the architectural, you know, kind of walkthrough of this video. And the minute we're able to come in, we know Ruth, you know, Leap to Success is one of our partners, our MOU partners. We're so excited about that. And so, you know, we will invite the partners in to come tour once we're able to get in, and right before our ribbon cutting ceremony. Yes.
I have a question. I'm raising my hand. What did you keep saying, the MOU? What is that exactly?
Oh, sorry. So basically, it's short for Memorandum of Understanding. So
Okay.
a Memorandum of Understanding is, in essence, a contract, an agreement between One Safe Place and an organization where we commit to each other what services we will provide. So, for example, with, you know, Leap to Success, I believe that our agreement is they will come to the center and provide some education. They will work, you know, I think they may even have an in-person class out of the center. We have, and it looks very different for every partner. So we have some partners that are going to be co-located, that we're actually going to have an office at One Safe Place. I think we have about 35 of those. And then we have those that have agreed to come into the center and do a specific task. We have a teaching kitchen in the center. So we have Leah's Pantry, who's going to come in and do classes on nutritional cooking. You know, many of our families feel that are on food assistance that they have to go to fast food to make their money, you know, go far. But she's going to come in and say, no, you can, you know, cook healthy, use these vegetables, use this. And so again, it just depends on what the organizations can give. We have others, you know, legal services that are going to ask for an office because they will be at the center 5 days a week. Palomar is going to be co-located, so they have agreed that they're definitely going to be in there every day. So that's what it is. It's a commitment and understanding between two organizations as to what they will commit to and what we will commit to them.
Are you partners with Interfaith in any?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Interfaith is going to be there. Absolutely. Another thing to throw out there is that we will have a 200-person training room. So if we ever wanted to have a large event, a big, you know, training piece, education, so that is available as well. The space also divides, so we can have 2 rooms of 100 people each. So yes, and I can't wait to show it to you. I mean, it's going to be a game changer in North County for sure.
Awesome. Praise God.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. The kid is writing something in the chat, Claudia, for you, I think. So if you want to take a look at that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to add my email address. If you can email me, and then we can get process started.
Awesome. Awesome. That's the other reason why we do this, so we can connect. We can stay connected. So Amelia is going to do a presentation for us today around children and trauma, the effects of trauma. And we all know about it, but the more we learn and glean, the stronger we can stand. So Amelia, if you can go ahead and take over. You're on mute, dear.
I am muted. Before I share my screen, I just wanted to give an extended introduction about how I'm connected to the faith community, because I think that will help. You know, normally when I give this presentation, it's from the public health services perspective in the Office of Violence Prevention. But I think today I will share a little bit more from my own perspective, my family actually is affiliated with two churches because our family's been going to a church in East County for a very long time, Grace Church East County. My husband is actually on staff singing at All Souls Episcopal Church in Point Loma. So we actually cover the region, east to west, and both of us are very active in these congregations, and no leadership, no people who are part of the women's ministries, youth ministries. And so that is my perspective when I'm giving this presentation, is I'm really looking at the whole community, not just a pastor, but, when you're looking at, and unfortunately, Pastor Rico couldn't be here, but, youth leaders, people who are in the care ministries, even hospitality, when you're greeting families, just letting them know that you care about their families. So let me go ahead and get started on sharing my screen. Is it showing up, Children in Trauma?
Yes.
Okay, so this presentation is a shortened version of what I actually provide for the Domestic Violence Essentials all-day training for public health nurses, law enforcement, service providers. The Domestic Violence Council provides a one-day free training for all topics related to domestic violence. And actually in the last couple of years, we've also had this in Espanol. So it's just very powerful to be able to share this with our service providers. And so I'm going to just give a portion of this presentation that I normally give. So let's see if I can. I don't have time today to share this video called First Impressions, Exposure to Violence in a Child's Developing Brain. This was actually developed almost 15 years ago from the California Attorney General's office. It's available free on YouTube. So when I send out the PowerPoint presentation, these links should be live for both the English and Spanish versions of it's about a 15-minute video. And it's just a really great scientific approach to the impact of exposure on a child's brain, but also talks about healing and resilience and hope. Because I think this is one of the reasons why I love this video, is because really it helps families look at, and then what? Now that, even if you had this exposure, what can we do to support our children? And so I really encourage you to take the 15 minutes in the future and watch this video. Okay, so I'm starting with a couple of definitions, both exposure to violence and exposure to trauma. So as far as being exposed to violence, a child can either be a direct victim, whether it's abuse, neglect, or maltreatment, or they can be a witness. It's something that they are either in the room, in the home. They say the child was asleep, but really, if it's happening in the home, a child is aware of what's going on in their home. And another slide I'll be sharing is about, what happens over time. So this can be even a one-time exposure or an exposure over time. And then trauma is even bigger. It's any kind of violence, victimization, an event that could be terrorism, disasters. And then one of the points here that we talk about is loss. And if we think about the pandemic, what are all the things that we as families, as individuals, children, what have they lost? My kids did the distance learning, and it was really hard, especially for my high school students. It was very, very hard to lose that connection with their support network. And when they were able to go back to school, my kids were just in their glory being able to go back. But you also saw that disconnect, that this is still kind of new again. So when you think about exposure to violence, exposure to trauma, whether it's a car accident, a loss of a family member, especially when we think about COVID, my heart kind of pauses because there are so many people we have lost, family members, loved ones, teachers, and so this is a part of our environment that children are involved in. So even if there is not specific violence in the home, we do consider all the ways that children can be impacted. And so, as I mentioned earlier, whether it's a single event, or there could be, that's, acute trauma. Chronic is when something is happening over time. Usually it's some kind of challenging situation, whether it's abuse or alcoholism, or even if there's mental health issues in the home. These experiences can impact a child over a period of time. And then similar, chronic is where something is long lasting and complex. You could have abuse and issues stacked on top of another. For instance, if you're in a neighborhood where there may be high crime, or you could be in a school where there's bullying, you're stacking trauma upon trauma. Yes, Karen. Oh, can you unmute yourself, please?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
One, we can't tell if you're forwarding the slides because we still see the very initial slide, one. And two is, as you were talking about trauma, I got a picture of those children that are in Ukraine that had to flee, had to leave, and the trauma that they're experiencing. And we just need to continue to pray. I know we're praying for them daily, but it really brought up the effects of what they're witnessing and how, the services that they're going to need to have any kind of normalcy in their life after this is over. So just don't want to, let's pray for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you seeing the slide on first impressions right now?
Yes, we do.
I didn't realize I'm using two screens and I was looking at the wrong screen. So again, these are the links that should be live when we send the PDF out. And then I have a few slides on the definitions and then the types of trauma. And as I mentioned, these are different kinds of trauma, how children are affected in their community and in their families. And then one thing that we have to be really honest about is system-induced trauma, because it is, even if we want to promote children's safety, it is traumatic when there is a removal from a home or admission into a program or a facility, or, certainly an arrest of a family member. Even though what we're trying to do is protect children, their lives are being disrupted. Their connections are being severed. And so, as we conduct our regular work, we do have to pay very close attention to how we can support families and support children. And one of the best examples that I've heard of in the foster care system is when you ask the birth parents, what are the children's favorite, bedtime routines? What are their favorite foods? So even if they're in a foster care situation, they can kind of bring areas of comfort. And then again, reminding them that, their family loves them. And there's just different ways that we can hopefully mitigate, even though you can't really, completely change that this is going to be a traumatic situation. And then right in the middle is vicarious trauma. And I definitely want to think about law enforcement, nurses, educators, pastors, ministers,
social workers.
Social workers. When we hear stories, when we work with families that are going through struggles, and then even my interns, we have, seniors at San Diego State University, and we really emphasize that this is something to pay attention to. Vicarious trauma is real. It does have an impact, even though the trauma isn't happening directly to you. We're humans, right? We have hearts, we have minds, and whether you're, in women's ministry, when you hear these stories, you also get impacted. And so self-care is a really important part. Whatever your self-care process is, sometimes I tell people it can even be a minute, it can even be a moment where you close your computer, where you take a moment to pray. You know, I think there's an example, I believe it's Nehemiah, where he goes before the king and he has, you know, even in that moment, he's praying because, you know, you can pray at any time, you know, pray without ceasing. I really believe that's an important part of my self-care, is that praying without ceasing part, because when you hear these stories, when we hear about Ukraine, when we are reminded, when we see the news, you know, we know our hearts are going to be touched and broken. And, you know, part of our healing is, you know, lifting up these concerns and knowing that it's part, there's something bigger. And we don't have to be 100% responsible, because we're not. We can help support, we can help guide, but we don't have to always feel responsible. And I know I'm looking at some of these really amazing, loving people on this call, and I know that's a challenge for all of us. So that's a part of vicarious trauma and self-care, is remembering all the ways that we can kind of open up these situations to our broader community and to you know, the you know, greater powers for all of these families. So the scientific definition is called adverse childhood experiences. So when children between birth, actually in utero even, to 18, when you have these experiences, whether it's abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction, it could be physical, emotional, sexual abuse, there's neglect in the home, whether it's physical or emotional distancing, or people in the family, family members are experiencing all of these issues, whether it's mental illness, incarceration, domestic violence, whether it's the mother or father treated violently, substance abuse, divorce. These experiences impact the child. And then there was a study through Kaiser Permanente, actually, where they looked at disease and illnesses in adults. And then they asked these survey questions about what kinds of experiences did you have as a child? And there was a very direct correlation. There was a direct comparison between the more negative childhood experiences there were, the more challenges you had. And then it's a very logical progression that, you know, when you have adverse childhood experiences, and I'll tell you a little bit more about brain development, but there are impacts on how people view the world and view themselves and think about and react. And I have some slides on brain development and how you handle these challenges. Is very often you adopt unhealthy behaviors, whether it is, you know, internet, you know, going on the computer, internet use, substance abuse, you know, acting violently towards someone else. All of these different unhealthy behaviors do lead to various issues, social issues, diseases. If you're a smoker, and that's your coping mechanism, we all know that that leads to a lot of different impacts to your health and to your well-being. And then all of this, you know, has a potential to lead to early death. So this, you know, is a very broad way of looking at it, but let's take a look at, you know, one example. You know, an individual maybe who has experienced domestic violence and other traumas in their childhood, and when they grow up, they are, you know, they could have depression or anxiety or post-traumatic stress. And so how do you handle, you know, life when you are, you know, in a world and your brain is full of these, you know, challenging issues? They will turn to either drug, alcohol, or, you know, gravitate towards people who may, you know, share unhealthy coping mechanisms. And so, you know, again, this is just one example. There's so many. You know, you look at, I was talking to law enforcement, juvenile services, and they talk about when kids are breaking curfew, you know, and they're out. You know, there's reasons for a 14-year-old to be out in after 10 o'clock at night. It's usually because they don't want to be home. You know, so what is it that's going on at home that's causing 13, 14, 15-year-old that they would rather be on the street than in their own home. So again, not all of these are just, this is how I'm viewing the world in my brain, but it's like, it could be a safety issue. They don't want to be around some of these experiences. And so they're making these choices. And, a 14, 15-year-old shouldn't be on the street at 10 o'clock at night. And that can lead to potentially very dangerous circumstances. So again, this is just that pathway of when you have a trauma and exposure, there are choices that get made and they can lead to very challenging situations. And so I think that's part of it. When you look at these kids who are breaking curfew, who are vandalizing, buildings, it's kind of, you want to kind of go back upwards on this cycle and go, what is it that's leading this child to escape or to make bad choices? They probably didn't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to climb up onto a bridge and vandalize my community. There's a process that leads them to being around people who can help them escape from whatever they're escaping from. So that's kind of the compassion piece of even the kids who are problem kids. We can look back and say, what is it that is in their life? One of the common expressions that we hear from trauma-informed care is not, what, oh, I usually can just say this like that, but it's, it's not just what did you do, but what happened to you. And I think there's another quote. If someone can help me with that, I usually have that right on the top of my head, but it's that question of what happened to you. It's not
That's
just,
correct.
What is it, Shalyn? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, because a lot of times we ask, why did you do this? I mean, I even think about my own kids and their grades. It's like, why did you not do your homework? And, there could have been a really bad day. There could have been something else that was distracting that child. And whether it doesn't even have to be giant trauma, but people do make bad choices when, things are not going well for them. Okay. And so I mentioned this already. You can almost look at, it's a step-by-step. Alcoholism comes from someone, experimenting, or if there's alcohol in the home, and it's just so easy, when they're having a bad day, it's just so easy to go and get the alcohol that could already be there. Again, that leads to liver disease, smoking, depression. There could be suicide attempts. All of these are different impacts of childhood trauma. And then even heart disease, people can use food. It's actually, one of those things where, food can be a drug for some people, where it's just much easier. It's not illegal. There's nothing wrong if you're under 18 and you have that, a whole box of Girl Scout cookies. There's nothing illegal about that, but, that will lead, that might feel good temporarily, but that's really not something in the long run. If that is your coping mechanism, then that will lead to, poor health outcomes in the future. So really that's the question is, what are they doing to cope with the traumas and experiences? And so that's really what we as a community are trying to support the kids and the families. And how do we help them make choices and give them opportunities to heal from, it's not just, you just don't want to deal with, oh, this person needs to lose weight. We think about doctors, why ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are really important for pediatricians. Don't just talk about the pounds and the weight and the bad choices and the unhealthy eating, but you look at, are there reasons why they're using food as a coping mechanism? And can you support this family and this child in addressing the root cause of what is causing these bad choices? So again, it's just a community. We all want to just wrap our arms around these families and support them in addressing these root causes. And so this is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about, because a lot of times we don't think about what happens in a child's brain. And so what happens when you have exposure to violence or trauma at different age groups? And so I'm going to actually start at the bottom. The reptilian part of the brain is what helps with your heartbeat, regulating your temperature, your reactions. And if there's exposure to violence or trauma, whether it's in utero up to 2 years old, there is a long-lasting impact to a lot of these parts of your brain. So if a mom who is pregnant is experiencing domestic violence and she has high stress, there's actually cortisol that floods her the umbilical the fluid in her body with it that's bathing the child. And so they actually have this shot of cortisol and stress hormones. And if it happens repeatedly, this baby is getting stress hormones repeatedly in utero. And so now their brain is getting all these extra stress hormones. So even before they're born, a baby can have impact for domestic violence. And so if you think about it, what happens when you hear a bang? You know, if you're in a neighborhood where there's gunshots or there's, you know, car theft, if you hear a bang, you kind of cower. That is your immediate reaction. If you're in a community where that's not your regular experience, you're just like, oh, what was that? Was that an earthquake? You know, but if you're in a family where doors are slamming, where, you know, things are being thrown, every time you hear these sounds, you react and you say, you know, what just happened? What am I supposed to do? How do I keep safe? And so that is the reaction. Your heart starts beating, your temperature rises, you know, you get anxious. It could just be a sound, just a sound. But again, that can cause your brain to react and you can't control it. This cannot be controlled. This is actually just something that as a fight, flight, what is it? Fight, flight, freeze.
Freeze.
And fight, flight, freeze. You know, those reactions are your reactions for, you know, if there's an attack, you need to be ready to either fight, or if something is too big for you, you run, you flee, and then, or if you want to be hidden, you just stay very still and you hope that they don't notice you. And that's what the freeze is about. So if you can imagine this happens whether someone's 2 years old or 12 years old or 22 years old. You know, these are just natural instincts to respond to a dangerous situation. And this happens all the time, whether someone realizes it, whether it's really a dangerous situation or their body just, they don't know. And so the first instinct is to kind of, you know, let me keep myself safe. And then, so the next phase is the emotional part of the brain, the limbic. This is how you feel, your feelings, how you interpret the world, how you interpret when someone's talking to you. So the example that I usually use when I'm in person with an audience is I come at people with my arms open, right? If you come at, my screen is so small now. When you come at someone with your arms open, that can either be very welcoming, like I'm going to hug you, or that can be, you know, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to, you know, shake me? Are they trying to, you know, hold me in place, keep me from moving? So again, those feelings of safety or those feelings of fear, that happens in your limbic system. And really, if there is exposure to violence from the ages of 2 to 10, that is actually the part of the brain that's being developed at the time that gets very impacted by repeated chronic exposure to toxic stress and to emotions. And so a lot of times when you think about self-esteem, when you think about how people view and build trust with other people, all of those emotional, feeling, relational parts of, you know, being a person, those do get impacted by exposure to violence. And so when you think, you know, I'm a nice person, they should welcome my services. I want to talk to them, but they won't talk to me. You know, maybe it could be because, you know, as they grew up from that age 2 to 10 years, people weren't trustworthy. You know, people didn't care, or when they cared, you know, maybe that someone's flipped and they were caring for a while, and then they you know, you saw the Jekyll and Hyde of someone. And so then, you have to be more cautious. So that's just a part. And again, this is also, and I think we would have had Mia talk about this, when she works at South Bay Community Services in their domestic violence program. And they do talk about it's very challenging when you grow up in a domestic violence household. You also tend to either become a victim or a perpetrator because how you view relationships has been impacted by what you saw. So you either learn that this is how you solve problems, is through violence or through, being harsh with someone or punishing someone. And then that's how you learn that this is just a part of what relationships look like. Or the other way is I saw abuse, and whether it's a male or female, I will not be abused. In fact, I'm going to be the one to make sure that I keep safe, and I'm going to make sure that the other person is the one who gets impacted or who suffers. And so, it's not always the case, but that happens a lot, because of that exposure and what you've learned, that you don't see healthy relationships. And so you're either grappling with your understanding of what a relationship and problem solving looks like, and you haven't had good examples, or you want to keep yourself safe, and then you are the one who causes someone else to have those traumatic experiences. And then the last one is the thinking part of your brain, the neocortex, where you think and you learn and you process and you plan ahead and you interpret, goals and thoughts, and you do math, that if you are exposed to domestic violence and trauma from ages 10 to 12, that's a part of your brain that is supposed to be growing and learning, and then that can get short-circuited. And the example that I like to use is, it kind of combines it, but if you're in math class and you're supposed to be learning about fractions or, integer, I don't know, all those words, and instead you're watching the door because you don't know who's going to walk in the door, or you're thinking about what happened last night in your family. You had a really rough time. There was something that happened with your family. It's really hard to process math. It's really hard to process, what did Shakespeare mean with this sonnet when your family is in distress, or, or you're worried about, the pandemic, or you're worried about, I'm coughing, do I have COVID? So it really requires a lot of effort to learn these very challenging issues in school. And if you're distracted with these other things, it really does impact how you learn. And so a lot of times, kids can be labeled, inattentive or hyperactive or whatever. They can have these labels which look like ADHD or oppositional defiant disorder. I'm not a therapist, I'm just throwing out these words, but really, a lot of that can stem from trauma. And so it can look like various learning disabilities or mental, different mental issues. And when you look at it, and it's important for teachers to ask these questions, it could just be related to trauma. So again, this is where it's not something that the child has any control over. They want to learn math, but if they're thinking about what happened last night, they're not going to be able to pay attention. So I think that's a part of having compassion, supporting kids, getting them tutors, helping them be in a safe place, and then giving them that chance to kind of relearn the topic. It's not easy. It's not easy. There's no easy answers for these because, you're in a world where we have to learn and plan, drive. I mean, I just think about the drivers in this world. Like sometimes if I think about this too much, I don't want to be on the road because I don't want to be, do you know what I mean? You don't want to be on the road where people are supposed to be thinking and doing complex things, and that we are all distracted. That's just my little, my little thing is I just know that when I look at all these drivers, I just think, oh, I hope everyone, I say prayer on the road, because I just know that people are dealing with a lot of stuff. And so let's all stay safe today. That's my little thing there. So, we talk about short and long-term impacts, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it impacts every aspect of a child's development, how they are attached, how they learn to trust. I mentioned again the hypersensitivity and the challenges, and sound, movement. Someone can touch. Someone touches you on the shoulder, you can be hypersensitive to that. Your moods, all of these are impacted. And again, this doesn't even have to be giant traumas. This could be, COVID. This could be, I am not used to being in school. How do I handle all of these things? So emotional, behavioral issues, cognition, how you view the world, how you view when someone's talking to you, your own personal self-concept and self-esteem. And then I mentioned again, once you become a partner and a parent, these things all come into play. And this is a really important slide. I actually want people to remember this because yes, we have statistics. Yes, we have the science behind it, but there is really no predictor of how people will be impacted because, there can be the same tree, the same branch, the same family, but there can be a different response. You know this. We have people who have in the same family, they live through the same poverty, violence, domestic violence or struggles, and you can have one sibling be very successful, having healthy relationships, and another sibling who really struggles with their own decision making and struggles with relationships and struggles with their goals. And there's really, I'll talk a little bit about resilience, but really we don't know. It really depends. It can be the age of the child when they had the trauma. It can be the perception of danger. It could be the perception of how much this is affecting me. And is it my fault? Some people, some children think that when there's, they should have been a better, they should have behaved better, and then their parents wouldn't have been as mad. Their relationship to the perpetrator or the victim, if they affiliate more with either their mom or their dad or the person who's in power or the person who's the victim, how they kind of affiliate can impact how they see what happened in that situation. Am I the victim, or is this something that I want to not have this ever happen again? And then again, there's all kinds of past traumas and events that could have also been impacting the children's lives. And so I had mentioned the term resilience, and resilience is adaptation. It's being able to have a healthy result, and it can be a combination of their internal strengths, their internal beliefs. They're saying that, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to be I'm not going to repeat the same mistakes that happened to me. Or it could be external. It could be support systems. It could be services. It could be a coach. It could be an auntie or an uncle who says, I'm going to support you, and you can always come to me. You can always talk to me. If there's challenges, you talk to me. Let me know what's going on. Those internal and external factors really do support children and help them learn that the whole world is not all trauma, and that there are people who are there to keep you safe. There are people there who can help you heal, bounce ideas, someone you can just complain to. Sometimes you just need someone to complain to and say, yesterday was hard, and why am I in this family? And even that can build resilience. And we can spend a long time talking about resilience, but I want to make sure I get to all my slides. And so there are so many ways that either as a church community, as social services, we can validate the child's experience, and I think that's really important. You don't have to say, yes, this happened or this didn't happen. You're not the judge. You don't have to do an investigation, but you can be a good listener and support the families. And then as you can, Claudia mentioned 211, or all these other services will be sharing some handouts on different programs. What can we do to support the family? And there's different ways to, again, support positive attachments, let them know that people care about them. Necessary supports, you want to support not just the kids, but also the caregivers. And so, families can also have supports, whether it's through mentors or services or other kinship people in their circles. And there's just a whole list of positive factors, whether it's their peers, they can, be good at something and have their strengths, later in life. There's employment, school, appreciation for one's racial, cultural group, strong spiritual connection, supportive extended family, sports, all of these things. And I even mentioned, internal coping mechanisms, journaling, prayer. All of these things are part of having a protective factor, because when you're going through challenges, it's important to have those kinds of supports around you, and knowing that there's a place to go to. I mean, sometimes it is, I would much rather have a youth center open till 10 p.m. Wouldn't that be amazing to have community youth centers open till 10 or 11, so that these kids can go someplace so they don't have to be in the street? That's kind of like my soapbox. Like, why can we not open our youth centers until late at night to support our kids who don't want to be at home? And they probably have homework to do anyway. And then, this is a reminder again of that system-induced trauma. Be aware of how interventions can either increase or decrease exposure. Sometimes we have multiple issues. You have, your church, your Bible study, you have therapy sessions, you have home visitors, all of these are good things. You have, your play dates, you have sports, but it is hard for families to keep up with a lot of these things. And sometimes it's better to have a do-nothing day, right? So again, be aware of how these things, even if they're good, they can still make life challenging and stressful. You can add stress with all these wonderful services that we offer. Sometimes that adds stress, so just to be aware of that. So sometimes we have to be a little flexible with scheduling appointments, and find out from families, does this really work for you? Would you rather do a phone visit? All of those questions. Is there another week that will work out better for you? All of those questions can help families not feel so stressed. That it's okay. It's okay to say, this is a really hard day for me. I need to do this on another day. And again, I emphasize that it's not just professionals, but there's various community resources, whether it's sports, community mentors that can support families. And then we have, of course, our hotlines, and we have a variety of agencies that support teen relationship violence services. So we can share all of these with you guys. 211, Brady Children's Hospital. There's a lot of different programs, and we have these available on the domestic violence website. And again, I have some one-pagers that I'll also send out to everyone. And then finally, I know I went through a lot, but I also know that you all experience a lot, and you have so many families that you're touching. And so I just want to thank you and acknowledge you for all that you do. And, we're here to support you, and thank you for everything that you do.
Great job. Fantastic job. As Liz said, hi, Liz. Great job, Amelia. Thank you so much. We love your passion and the way you make it easy to understand. And so we really appreciate that. So Lynn has, she has a few words for us. We whole goal is to get these conversations going on with the faith leaders. I know Yvette has been on with us too, and she is a specialist in financial abuse, and we will be hearing from her in May, this coming May. And she also has taken a position with the Rock Church. God positioned her to be working with women at the Rock Church. So congratulations, Yvette, and we're always here to support you. Liz is on the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Committee. I want to say awareness because that's basically what they basically do for the most part, and equipping. And like school districts, they did a big thing with the school district recently, and I thought that was very impressive. So kudos to all the ladies on here for all the work that we do. Shalyn is with Child Welfare Services, and yeah. Shalyn, we often talk about the offering, whenever you go to church, there's always an offering plate, an offering time. And so we call it an offering that what we want to offer. So Shalyn, if you can talk a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. If you could, okay, I see that.
Do you have permission? Do you need me to?
I need permission to share.
Yes. Okay, you should be able to share now. Does that work?
Yes, that works. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my presenter screen?
Not yet.
Oh,
You might have to click share at the end, like click.
got it.
I do that all the time.
This technology, my goodness. Let me try it again. Okay, I got it.
Yes.
How about
you got-
that? That works?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And we only have a few minutes.
Okay, let me
Jillian.
rush through this then. Thank you for the opportunity to just present to you. You know, we've recently developed a Toolkit subcommittee. And so basically we're wanting to, I know we have an offering. An offering is, you know, you all give to us, and but we're giving to you, and we want you to give to us as well, because this is not just the San Diego Domestic Violence Committee, a faith leaders group where all the leaders get to do everything. You are the leaders, and so we want your help as well. So in considering for a moment the members of your faith organization, what are some tools and support that that you see are that is needed greatly? I asked the question to you all just to throw it out there for those who haven't already contributed.
For my church, we have nothing. We have me, and
Yeah.
and so
Yes.
I'd love to see counseling and trainings happening, and this toolkit could potentially help me to
Be the
move
door.
forward.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that
And
would be the
so-
door.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there, but you know, it's something that we can build together. So just to let you know, the San Diego Domestic Violence Council, as Amelia has already mentioned, has a website with lots of community resources that are already readily available for you to have access to. We also have a QR code that you can take a picture of with your camera, and it'll point you directly to the website so that you can access all the different resources and also have access to the calendar of events that the San Diego Domestic Violence Council sponsors, and also their different meeting calendars and things of that nature. Also, we want to work with you all to design a method to capture data. We would like to work with you to do this, of course, protecting confidentiality, any information that's specific to individual or family members. But we want to gather information that is representative of all the different faith organizations that we're working with, so that we can understand the trends that you all are seeing to help drive the work that we're doing. And so we want to work together to design that so that we can know how we can best impact the communities of San Diego County to keep our families safe from family violence. Also, we want to provide those learning and engagement opportunities. As mentioned, there's community at the San Diego Domestic Violence Council monthly meetings. We have community resource provider trainings, also the mandated reporter training, which we just had this week, family violence trainings, lived experience testimonies, and also expert training. So these are just some of the opportunities that you'll get a chance to take advantage of if you're a part of this group. And we want you to give input into what that looks like as well. We're looking to provide regional specific resources, as mentioned earlier. There's the faith communities, interfaith communities group that is located in North County, and they have lots of different resources, and there's lots of groups working, faith organizations working in the South community and Central region as well. But we're looking to get regional specific. We're looking for faith leaders, all different kinds of faith organizations throughout San Diego to become a part of this group so that we can work together to support one another, to prevent family violence and to strengthen families. And so we also are looking to you to develop the coaching and mentor opportunities. If you're already doing the work and you have the experience and the skills, we want you to be a part of developing the faith-based sermon teaching formats, creating templates that pastors can utilize, and the one-on-one coaching and mentoring. And then also, of course, as I mentioned, the collaborative opportunities, San Diego Domestic Violence Council has an annual DV prevention. Well, we don't have it ourselves, but we do recognize it, the annual Domestic Violence Prevention Month. And we schedule different activities every single week throughout San Diego County that we would love for you to be a part of, and also helping with planning, and then also showcasing the work that you're doing to serve families in your specific congregations. There's different conferences, prevention resource fairs, restorative practice circles, and then also Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month that we just recognized last month. If you were interested in getting more information about that and then having access to the resources that they provide, the QR code is there on the screen. And as Amelia had shared earlier, all of these resources and slides will be shared so that you can have access to them at a later time. So this is just an invitation to come to our next meeting on this upcoming Monday at 10 a.m. if you're interested, so we can get started on working on developing this toolkit. We've already started with just brainstorming this last week. We'll be meeting again on this upcoming Monday. You're definitely welcome to be a part of that. We're hoping that we can have this toolkit developed by June of this year. So here we are. Please just put your information in the chat. Let us know that you're interested in being part of that. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Shalyn. That's pretty awesome. I don't know if you saw me over here clapping and applauding this work, but this is pretty awesome. And yes, I really want to take a look at this. And yeah. So in the essence of time, we were scheduled till 11:15, and I saw Chaplain Sharon had to run off, and so did Claudia. Liz, you're here. Did you have a few words for us before we close out? Liz, thank you for being with us.
I'm just so grateful that I got to at least catch the last portion of that. So thank you to Amelia and Shaylin and all the work you did. And Amelia, I think I'll be asking you if you're available to make a similar presentation to the teen dating violence.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that we've been talking about that, and I let it slip, but we'll look forward to that opportunity. And I'm happy to help chip in on the toolbox, but June is probably an aggressive time frame for me personally, but I applaud the work. I think it'll be a huge help for the faith leaders to have resources to help them. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
And yes, Leap will. Yes, Ruth will be sure and include you in upcoming events. And I think we're planning to release the toolkit in July. Is that correct, Shalyn? Yes. So yeah, I thank you guys so much for your faithfulness to this work, to prevention and protection for families at whatever degree that you do. The work is very impactful. And just like I said earlier, when we can make it's not so much about the recognition, but it's about for me, and I think most of us, is leaving a legacy of love and care for others, because that's what we do with our lives each day. We care for others, and whatever arena that you're operating in. And I was really happy to see Chaplain Sharon here with us. She's going to be a catalyst to get more faith leaders to the table. I already know that. So thank you for helping me, ladies. And at the end, I'd just like to ask again that we will continue to, how do we get San Diego State interns? Amelia, that's a question for you. And I did get 3 interns that are helping me, and yeah, but they're very busy. They're seniors too, but they make time to get together with us. The one thing I want to say is I need help getting this out. I'm going to ask every week, every month, because I I don't want to feel like I'm failing at getting it out to people, but it's a challenge for me. So whatever you can do to help to continue to invite others to the table with us, I really, really appreciate that, because it's no man is an island. I cannot do this without myself. So thank you for standing beside and doing what you do.
And what is next month's topic? Do we have that yet?
Next month is going to be, I had to move it around. It was going to be financial abuse, but she's not available. I was thinking about human trafficking. I know we just did a human trafficking, so give me some suggestions. And then May will be financial. Looks like I'm gonna have to move the tour of the Family Justice Center or One Safe Place, North County. I may have to move that out till July or so. It's a living organism. Our schedule is a living organism. So I'm reluctant about human trafficking. I'd like to get another topic if someone has a suggestion.
What if we had a topic on the toolkit? What if we actually had a dialogue about what people want to see in the toolkit in April?
You want to
Shalyn,
do that, Shalyn?
would that be helpful?
Yes,
that
that
work for
would be
you?
helpful in April next month
Mm-hmm.
to just kind of talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that because we
Okay.
need active people who are going to be doing some research and kind of put into, things together. And we need to assign different tasks for people to take away and work on and come back. So yeah, totally.
So maybe I'll mention that to some of my pastors and our leaders are not quite ready to come to all these meetings on a consistent basis. But I have a feeling that if I said this next meeting will be about what would you like to see in the toolkit, I think they'll be interested in engaging.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I have some ideas as well.
And
I
so,
think
so I added, what, you all have said during this meeting into the slides just now. And so, because I know you said, what did you say? Counseling, Karen?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Counseling, and counseling for adults and children
Mm-hmm.
as well. That's a key thing. I know that's what's missing from my church. And I know it's needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's think about the content of that toolkit. And I may talk to Misty. I may see if I can get a few minutes with Misty so I can get some of her thoughts and ideas, because that was an idea that she gave me a few months back. So I will definitely put her on my calendar to reach out to her and tell her that's what we're looking to do in April. And she's a wealth of knowledge, so she'll be happy to share.
Okay, that'll be great.
Lynn, I don't know, I put it in the chat, but I'll just go ahead and
I did get it. I did get your
okay,
information, and I added it to the PowerPoint slide already.
Oh my gosh, you're fast. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Liz and the Teen Dating Violence Committee just released a toolkit to the school district that was powerful and amazing. So if Liz is willing to help us with that, we're going to go ahead and applaud you in advance, Liz. Thank you.
Well, I think, it takes a village. So there was a team that put that together, but thank you. Yeah, one thing we did was we kept it to 2 pages. And then we did allow for hyperlinks for more information, but we really felt it was important. In the schools, they're really busy, but so are church offices, right? So you want to keep it visually simple. That was one thing that really helped us.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that we talked about, was creating like a little card. I have a little card and I wanted to show you all, but it's not immediately in front of me. But you guys, they're little cards, like a little trifold, but they're about the size of a business card. We were talking about creating something like that had some sort of a something that isn't too obvious, that's pointing to domestic violence, that people can perhaps keep, we can have them in, pastors can put them in indiscriminate places about the church. And then, people who are experiencing family violence, they can just get that card. It has all kinds of DV resource information in it, maybe a QR code or something that's not easy for, that's not easily recognizable. So we have to just kind of think through that and what that will look like.
That's an awesome idea. Good stuff.
Mhm.
So now you got us thinking. And I might do an interview on my pastor. I think I'll do an interview on my pastor and see what kind of input I can get from him directly.
Yeah, that'll be great. Okay, but that I definitely will help, send out to any pastors. Could you send it out, Amelia, to all the faith leaders who's a part of the faith informational, the Live Well San Diego faith meeting?
I missed sending it out to that one. So
Okay.
I'll make sure to send it out.
Yeah, Nicole, it's Nicole, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, let's talk offline about how timely to get it to her so that it goes out in a timely manner as well. Because I know she has a huge, she has a huge database of faith leaders.
And the next meeting will be in the afternoon, or will it still be at 10
Yes,
a.m.?
it'll be in the afternoon at 2. And it'll actually be the same. No, it won't be the same date. It will be Thursday. The third Thursday is April 21st.
What day is that again?
April 21st.
21st. Okay, that's a Thursday. Okay, at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So Shalyn, if you want to schedule a couple of meetings that we can get together and flesh out some ideas and thoughts and how we can support you, then I welcome that. I'm gonna reach out to my pastor now and see if I can get on his calendar.
Okay.
And I'll work with Mia on getting the link and the flyer out earlier.
Okay, great.
We'll get that out to everyone. Okay.
Okay, all right. And yeah, and I need to do automatic reminders. I think that helps too. I know with Zoom you get an automatic reminder. I don't know how to do it through the calendar, but I'll figure that out. All right, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Ruth,
you.
it was wonderful to see you, and Liz. Thank you.
Yes. It's been a long time since I've seen you in person, but I remember when we used to meet in person over at the county administration office or the COC, you would come over there. And so I remember you from then.
Yeah. We'll be back together again soon.
Yes.
Have a great day.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.